As we close out this chapter, look back and see how much you've grown in your gardens. It's how I look at a lot of my lessons, and I can go back and look the following year and see what needs improvement. This year, I had a lot of successes. I also had a few failures. It's okay. That's part of the process. You're not always going to grow everything perfectly. So I thought I would show you guys how I prepare myself at the beginning of the year to get ready for the next one. I buy myself a brand new journal. This one is mushroom inspired. Maybe it'll remind me to get my mushrooms started. I've got wine caps to get in. But get yourself a journal. And I know you hear people say that, and I used to be one of them too, where I was like, oh, what do I need that for? You want to keep a record. I start to ask myself a couple questions, and I do a debrief. What worked? What didn't work? And what do you get to add? I made a list. I expanded my fruit trees and I listed them off. I installed 2 rain capture barrels. I expanded the chickens' run and I created a watering system for them. I built another ollie bed, built out my irrigation systems in the garden, which are so helpful. I work full time, so I do have to find ways that help me. Irrigation, timers, and these water capture methods really do save me some time. I did finally get my green stalk planted, though I haven't done much around it. What didn't work this last year? I still haven't planted my fig trees. Those poor trees need to be planted. Peppers. I didn't get my peppers in early enough. I had a fungal issue on my pears. I'm new to fruit. Fruit is not something that comes natural to me, so there's going to be a learning curve. And the first thing I get to figure out is how do I handle this fungal issue naturally and organically if I can. See if I can't thwart that a little bit. The deer have been eating and ruining my fruit trees. I installed some fencing. I don't think I've posted that video yet, but I did just before the holidays. I installed some fencing because in the winter they come nibbling on the trees. My strawberries got too shaded from the asparagus, so I made a decision to move them. I put them in the green stalk. I think that's going to be better because then the slugs and stuff might not get to them as easily. So we're going to take those vertical and move them out of the asparagus, which also gave me the opportunity to plant some collards and things along there this fall, which was really nice. Cucamelon. I did not know that those are like invasive, and funny enough, I found some growing up on one of the roads up here that I go foraging on. I had no idea. It actually took over one of my beds. My tomatoes were doing terrible. I had eggplant that it was getting shaded from the tomatoes as well, but it was also getting choked out from that cucamelon. So I didn't get any eggplant this year except for that one that you may have seen in the video. My first eggplant of the season. And it was like November, December. I knew about this, but I'd never seen it firsthand. Hardneck garlic needs a period of vernalization. It needs a period of cold so that it will bulb. If you don't get that, they won't bulb. Not that it was necessarily something new, but it was my first experience with it firsthand. And I thought that was kind of cool to be able to actually finally wrap my head around that and go, oh, now I like really get it. Carrots. I still can't do carrots, y'all. I've tried everything. I'll get 1 or 2 sometimes, but I did rip them out this last year and I planted a new set of them, so we'll see if that does better. And then the cut leaf coneflowers that I have over here, I'm going to replant them because I think I'm going to plant my okra over there and get it out of the beds because they look like a hibiscus flower. They're going to look really pretty in with the flowers. So I think I'm going to do some planting along the side amongst, like, I think I've got some lilies over there. There's some Shasta daisies, things like that. But I think I'm going to put some veggies in there as well. So what do I get to add? This is where I kind of look at, all right, what are the things that I wanted to do this year that maybe I didn't get to yet? Number 1 for me is a greenhouse. I really want to build a greenhouse. I've been collecting some windows. I just haven't gotten there yet. Probably this spring, I'm starting to get into a little bit of woodworking. I've done some floating shelves. I'm ironing out my mistakes and figuring out what I'm doing, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to build a greenhouse. I also get to install my stone paths. You guys might remember I got a bunch of stones for free, and I want to start laying those because I think I'm going to need more stone. They've been in a stack. I get to pick that back up. I started my berry patch. In fact, this is going to look terrible, but see that? That little patch back there? That is where I'm killing the grass, and I'm going to put some berries over here. I had to figure out where my septic tank was, so I did that. I think this is where I'm going to transplant all of the raspberries. So I've got several varieties planted over here. I've got black raspberries over here. I've got wild blackberries in the forest, and I have a couple that I've bought and put in pots because I didn't get them planted in time because I knew I was going to build a berry patch. I also have kiwi berries, if they make it. I hope they do. And I bought a couple of grapes this year. So I'm going to have some trellising going on over here, and we're gonna have kind of like a fruit garden, I guess. Even though my little mini orchard is more out front, I think I'm also going to put the 2 figs near those, and I'm hoping to maybe create a patch in ground to do some corn. I've never done corn. I don't tend to like growing corn because it takes up a lot of space. You can buy it so cheaply at the farmers markets and with your farmers. So I've never actually grown it, but I have seeds. I thought, you know what? It would be kind of fun just to try it. You just need a good bit of space. I don't like doing this self-pollinating with it. You really only get a couple ears, if you even get 2 per plant. So it really, to me, is not worth the space it takes up, but I think I'm going to create a space for them. When you're doing this, not only what you learned and what you get to add, but you know what? Maybe highlight your successes. Highlight the stuff that you really want to grow more of. I grew Trail of Tears beans. They are a bean that was brought through the Trail of Tears, and they are a green pole bean. And I finally tried them as a green bean. They taste just like a green bean. I didn't think they would. They totally did. And then when they dry and they become pods, there's a black bean inside that you can dry and use for beans, for black beans. I only grew a little bit of those last year, and I didn't grow them early. I think this year I'm going to grow more of those. You can write out your planting lists. Go ahead and look up your spring planting and get yourself ready for your spring planting. These are all the planting dates. Spring task log. I started that where, I was saying by this date, I want to make sure I fertilize. By this date, I want to make sure I do my compost. I want to make sure that every 3 months I'm doing this. Every 2 months I'm doing this. Every week I'm doing this. So I did a lot of planting on 4/16. This is handy because you can kind of look back, and if you had something that didn't grow very well, you can go, okay, I know what happened there. Along with a planting log is I do kind of a wish list of seeds, so I can keep track of seeds that I've seen that I want to buy, so that you don't duplicate stuff as well, because I tend to buy more than one of something. Last year I had a couple of squash that I was going to try, and actually some of these I didn't try. This is nice to know that this is what I was looking at last year, and if I planted any of these, I can go down this list and go, I'm going to grow that one again. I'm going to grow that one again. That one, no way. It's just a nice way to keep track of it. This is really helpful too. You can actually start your garden plans. I kind of do the square foot method. The size of my gardens is 4x8, so to me each one of these squares is a foot. It's not how my garden is necessarily like sectioned out, but I know in my head when I'm planting, I kind of visualize a square foot. It actually is very, very helpful, especially if you want to go backwards and you ever want to go look and see what was planted where. I didn't do a great job of that this year. I started to, so you can see here's, there's certain things that are planted here and I have them labeled by color, but yeah, then I just sort of like forgot about it. So I want to keep up on that better this year. In fact, fall, I make a list sometimes of the plants that I have. Perennial onions. I've got several different varieties that I'm growing. I did have a couple that I wanted to find, so I just make notes of this stuff. It's one of the things that we can do to get ready. And while I'm lucky enough that I do have some things growing, my brassicas are all still out there and they're doing pretty good. Not everybody has that luxury, but this can serve you and get you in that frame of mind so that come spring, you won't have any delays. You'll have your seeds, you'll have your plan, and you'll be ready to get everything in really quickly. Happy planting.